The other thing is to pick what's called a sit spot. Okay, and we're going to talk about that. So how do you do that? Well, you have to pick a place to visit on a regular basis. Okay, and nature connection, you can have one-off experiences, but you really only get good at this or develop it over time by repeatedly practicing it. And so this sit spot it's basically just an observation post, okay? And you want to go out there to the same place, and you can learn what animals are doing, what they're saying, all the messages that they're broadcasting, as well as the plant communities. How are they changing over time? Seasonally, or doing, if you're in a drought in a particular year versus very wet time of year. You can notice all that, and it just starts calibrating, your senses. We actually, there's a lot in the news now about artificial intelligence, but really it's all about pattern matching, and that's already built into our brains. That may be part of what we lost, once we kind of developed civilization, but pattern matching is in us. And part of the way that you develop that is that you realize by listening that everyone else is watching and listening as well. And that's why animals are good at it, because they're constantly 24/7, particularly the listening part. Okay. Animals do go to sleep and close their eyes. Close their ears. Okay. The other thing is that you want to familiarize yourself with individual behaviors, interactions, and patterns of all the animals that you see out there. Okay. And again, seasonal patterns that you see as well. Okay. Notice any changes in their behaviors, any conditions under certain situations, time of day, as well as environmental changes that happen. Maybe there's been a natural disaster, or there's been some man-made disturbance. And then you want to piece all of that together. Okay. And by doing that, it takes a long time, but you start to it's like putting together a jigsaw puzzle. Okay. When you see these changes and these individual behaviors, and through that, you can begin to really extract meaning and contextualize a situation, a place, an area. It could be a species. It could be a particular animal.
Yes, I know.
Okay. So, and again, if you're not on a mute, I'd ask you to put your microphone on mute, please. But by doing that, you can actually then start to understand what's going on. And that really facilitates nature connection, because when you start understanding a place, you start feeling part of it. Okay. You become part of the story. And sometimes even the animals and the birds will start, reacting to you or not reacting to you. They know that you're part of that situation now. And it's really interesting. You have some incredible experiences. So how do you do that? How do you go about finding a good area? Well, the first thing is, when you're trying to find a sit spot, you want to find something that is close to where you work. If you're going to do it then a break during work, and I've done that before, or that's close to home. And you want something that's easy to access. Okay, where you have minimal disturbance. Okay, you don't want something that where you have all kinds of disturbances, because you're just not going to see as much. Sometimes that's not possible, but you want to be able to do that. You also want exposure to a variety of species, if possible, in plants. So you can just think as much diversity as possible. And if you can get away from heavy human activity, again, that's obviously related to disturbance. That's ideal. You also would like to have an area that has a lot of resources and different resources. So food for animals, different plant communities, various covers, canopy, open area, water, if possible, kind of mixed habitat. So having some edge habitat, where maybe you have a forest in and you have a grassland area start, or you have water next to a forest area, just something where you have some diversity. And also where you have, from your perspective, a panorama, okay, where you can see, all across, right? Have as wide a range of view as possible. And where possible that, you have some sort of concealment. Being, again, we're a predator species, so being right out in the open will disturb certain animals. So if you can get next to a bush or under a tree, something like that, that's typically going to serve you better. So when you go out to your sit spot, how do you approach it? Well, the first thing is you want to quietly go there. So you want to make as little impact as possible on your way out there. And I usually recommend wearing dark colors, because some animals, like particularly birds, can recognize bright colors, so that's going to cause less disturbance. On your way out, you want to again notice, everything that's going on around you. How are they behaving? How do animals react to your presence? Do you cause a big disturbance? Okay. Once you're there, you want to sit quietly and just wait for a few minutes. Okay. Wait for everything to settle down, kind of go back to normal. Okay. And then just sit as long as you like that. From that point forward, it could be just a few minutes. We're all busy. I understand that, or an hour or even more. And if you want to make some observations, if you want to bring binoculars, if you're a bird person, that's great. Or journal. I wouldn't have your head down in a book or a journal because you're going to miss a lot. But if you just want to make a note here or there, that's a great idea. You can go back later and do a more formal journal on the whole experience if you like, or draw a map. That's a great thing. But at least in this case, you can make some small notes. If you're there for a longer period of time, then I recommend you divide it up into shorter segments when you're making your notes, somewhere in 5 to 10 minutes. And then when you're done, just kind of get up and leave, quietly, and